Have you ever noticed how there's a voice inside you that never rests? A voice that comments on every word you say, every move you make, every choice you take. And that voice is rarely celebrating who you are. It's too busy pointing out your mistakes, magnifying your failures, reminding you of every moment you weren't perfect. What if I told you that voice isn't your truth? That it's just an echo of old voices, of learned judgments, of borrowed fears? Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Feel the air entering and leaving your lungs. This simple act of breathing, you don't need to criticize it. You don't judge your heart for beating. You don't scold your lungs for expanding. So why allow that critical voice to judge the essence of who you are? Today, I want to invite you on a different journey. A journey where you learn not to fight against that voice, but to disarm it with gentleness. Where you discover that your personal worth doesn't need to be defended, because it's always been there, intact, just waiting for you to recognize it. Breathe with me now, and repeat softly, I am worthy of love and respect, starting with my own love and respect. Allow these words to settle in you, like seeds in fertile soil. Don't force anything, just allow. And to begin this transformation, I want to share with you the first attitude that will completely change your relationship with that critical voice. There's a profound difference between thinking and being. Have you noticed how we completely identify with our thoughts? When the critical voice says, "You're a failure," you don't hear, "I'm having a thought about failure." You simply believe, "I am a failure." But imagine for a moment that you're sitting near a river. The waters flow, carrying leaves, branches, reflections of the sky. You don't jump into the river every time a leaf passes by. You don't become each wave that forms. You observe. You witness the flow without getting lost in it. Your critical thoughts are like those leaves in the river. They come, they go, and you are the observer sitting on the bank. You are the awareness that perceives the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. This is the first attitude that begins to silence self-criticism, conscious observation. When that familiar voice begins its litany, pause, breathe, and say gently to yourself, I notice I'm having a critical thought about myself. See the difference? You're no longer fused with the criticism. You're creating a sacred space between who you really are and what your conditioned mind is saying. And in that space, freedom lives. Practice this throughout the day. When criticism arises, and it will arise because it's an old habit, don't fight against it. Simply acknowledge, there's that thought again, as if you were watching a cloud passing in the sky. You don't need to grab the cloud. You don't need to push it away. You just observe, with gentle curiosity. And here's the magic. The more you observe without identifying, the weaker the voice becomes, because criticism feeds on your belief in it. When you stop feeding it with your identity, it begins to wither like a plant without water. Repeat with me now. I am the awareness observing my thoughts. I am not my critical thoughts. Feel the truth of this echoing in every cell of your body. And now that you're beginning to observe these thoughts without becoming them, I want to invite you to the second attitude, one that may be even more transformative. Tell me, how do you talk to a small child who's learning to walk? When they stumble and fall, do you crouch down and yell at them? Do you list all the ways they're failing to walk perfectly? Do you compare them to other children who already walk better? Of course not. You crouch down with tenderness. You extend your hands. You smile and say, "You're doing so well. Shall we try again?" You celebrate every small step, every brave attempt, every moment of determination. So why don't you offer that same gentleness to yourself? The second transformative attitude is this. Start talking to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love deeply. Imagine your best friend comes to you in tears, saying all the cruel things you say to yourself, that she's not good enough, that she's made too many mistakes, that she should have done better. Would you stand there agreeing with her, adding more criticism? Never. You would hug her. You would remind her of her strength, her beauty, all the moments when she was amazing. You would see the whole picture, not just the moment of difficulty. You deserve that same compassion. You deserve that same care, not because you need to earn it by being perfect, but simply because you exist, because you're here, breathing, trying, growing, even when it's difficult. Today, I want you to do a simple but powerful exercise. Every time you notice you're being critical of yourself, pause. Place your hand over your heart. Feel the warmth of your own palm against your chest. And ask yourself, what would I say to someone I love in this situation? Then say those words to yourself, out loud if possible. If you made a mistake, say, you're human and you're learning. It's okay. If you feel inadequate, say, you're doing the best you can with what you have right now, and that's enough. And observe what happens in your body when you offer yourself this gentleness. Observe how your shoulders relax, how your breathing deepens, how something in you, something ancient and tired, can finally rest. Because the truth is this: you've been carrying the weight of self-criticism for far too long, thinking it would keep you safe, that it would make you better. But criticism doesn't build. It only destroys. It's compassion that creates the fertile soil where true change can flourish. Breathe with me and affirm. I speak to myself with love and kindness. My words to myself are seeds of healing and transformation. Let this truth take deep root in you. And as you're learning to observe your thoughts and speak to yourself with more gentleness, there's a third attitude that needs to blossom in you. Because, you see, do you know what happens when you only value big achievements? When only perfection, the final result, the reached goal receives your approval? You spend your whole life waiting to feel valuable. And the present time, that precious moment where life actually happens, becomes just an empty hallway you run through, never stopping to look out the window. The third attitude that silences self-criticism is learning to celebrate every step of the journey. Not just the mountaintop, but every stone on the path. Not just the rose in full bloom, but the seed splitting in the dark soil, the first root extending, the green sprout breaking through the earth. Our culture taught us to value only results. Self-criticism feeds on this. It's always looking at where you haven't arrived yet, at what you haven't achieved yet, at who you haven't become yet. And while you look ahead with that severe impatience, you completely miss the beauty of where you are now. But what if you started noticing the subtle miracles? What if you stopped to recognize that today you had the courage to try something new, even with fear, that you were kind to someone, even when you were tired, that you continued, even when part of you wanted to give up? These aren't small accomplishments. These are acts of tremendous courage, and they deserve to be seen. They deserve to be honored. Begin a sacred ritual today. Before sleeping, take a moment to acknowledge 3 things. Not 3 huge world achievements. 3 simple moments where you showed who you really are. Maybe you took a deep breath before reacting in anger. Maybe you got out of bed even without wanting to. Maybe you prepared a meal with care. Maybe you simply survived a difficult day. Write down these 3 things if you can. Or simply acknowledge them in the silence of your heart. And thank yourself. Thank yourself for continuing to try. Thank yourself for not giving up on yourself. Because here's a truth that self-criticism never wants you to know. Your worth isn't in what you achieve. Your worth is in who you are. And who you are isn't measured by destinations reached, but by the way you walk, by the kindness you offer, by the courage you demonstrate in each small moment of choice. When you begin to celebrate every step, something magical happens. The critical voice begins to lose its power, because it can only exist in an environment of scarcity, of lack, of not enough yet. But when you fill your life with recognition of what's already good, what's already beautiful, what's already valuable, you create a new environment, an environment of abundance. And in abundance, criticism finds nothing to hold on to. Breathe deeply and repeat. I celebrate every step of my journey. I honor the process as much as I value the results. Feel how this affirmation opens space in you for a gentler way of living. And now we arrive at the 4th attitude, perhaps the most liberating of all, and also the most challenging. Because from a very young age, we learned that our worth comes from outside, from the grades we received, from parents' approving smiles, from teachers' praise, from friends' validation, from success recognized by the world. And so, you built an entire life seeking others to tell you that you're enough. You became dependent on external approval like a plant dependent on the sun. But here's the problem. When your light comes from outside, You're always at the mercy of others' shadows. And self-criticism becomes ruthless, because it uses every sign of external disapproval as proof of your inadequacy. Someone didn't respond to your text? The critical voice whispers, "See? You don't matter. Your work wasn't recognized?" The voice shouts, "You're not good enough. Someone criticized you?" The voice concludes, "They're right. You're a mistake." But what if you became the source of your own approval? What if you lit the light within you, instead of chasing external reflections? This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or indifferent to others' feedback. It means finding a center in yourself that remains stable, even when the outer world shakes. Imagine a strong tree with deep roots. The winds come, storms arrive, but the tree doesn't fall because its roots are firmly planted in the earth. You need to become that tree. You need to root your sense of worth so deeply in yourself that others' opinions can blow around, but can't knock you down. How do you do this? Start small. Start paying attention to what you value in yourself, regardless of what others see. Maybe you value your persistence, your kindness, your creativity, your capacity to love. Maybe you value simply the fact that you keep trying to grow, keep trying to be better. Write down these qualities. Look at them. Recognize them not because someone else recognized them, but because you know they're true. And every time the critical voice starts its song of insufficiency, based on lack of external approval, return to these internal truths. Remember, people will misunderstand you. They'll judge you. They'll project their own insecurities onto you. They'll be having a bad day and take it out on you. And none of this, absolutely none of this, says anything about your real worth. Your worth was established the moment you came into existence. You don't need to earn it. You can't lose it. It simply is. Just as the ocean doesn't need to prove it's an ocean, you don't need to prove your worth. Practice saying no to what doesn't resonate with you, even if it disappoints someone. Practice making choices based on what you feel is right, not on what will earn the most applause. Practice validating yourself, saying to yourself, "I see my effort, I recognize my intention, I honor my journey," and watch what happens. Watch how, when you stop desperately seeking validation outside, it begins to spring forth abundantly within. Watch how self-criticism loses its most powerful weapon, your fear of not being accepted. Repeat with me now. My worth comes from within. I am the source of my own approval. I trust myself. Let these words reverberate in the sacred space of your heart. And now, after sharing these 4 attitudes with you, I need you to understand something profound. Self-criticism, as painful as it is actually trying to protect you. I know it seems strange. How can something so cruel be trying to protect you? But think with me. When you were small, and you were criticized or rejected, that hurt deeply. And some wise part of you decided, I'm going to criticize myself first. I'm going to make myself perfect. That way, no one else can hurt me. Self-criticism became armor. The problem is that armor became so heavy that now you can barely move. It no longer protects you. It imprisons you. And it's time to release it, gently, with gratitude for what it tried to do, but knowing you don't need it anymore. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to be perfect to be valuable. You don't need to be perfect to deserve kindness, starting with your own kindness. So today, right now, place your hand over your heart again. Feel the warmth there, and speak to that part of you that has criticized so harshly for so long. Speak to it with tenderness. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I'm safe now. It's safe to be imperfect. It's safe to make mistakes. It's safe to be seen as I am. You can rest now and breathe. Breathe as if each exhale were releasing years of accumulated criticism, as if each inhale were bringing fresh, new compassion to every corner of your being. You can do this. You can begin to relate to yourself in a completely new way. Not instantly, not perfectly, because see, you don't need to do this perfectly either, but gradually, gently, one day at a time. And now, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want to tell you something that may be the most important truth of all. My dear one, you've spent so much time running from yourself, so much time trying to be someone else, someone more acceptable, someone more worthy. But here's the truth I want to settle in you like a ray of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. You were always enough. You were always worthy. You were always valuable. The only thing that changed was your belief in that. The 4 attitudes I shared with you aren't tricks or empty techniques. They're portals. Portals back to the truth of who you always were, before you learned to judge yourself, before you absorbed the world's criticisms, before you believed you needed to be different to deserve love. Observe your thoughts without becoming them. Speak to yourself with the gentleness you would offer someone loved. Celebrate every step, not just destinations. Release the need for external approval and find your inner light. These are the keys, but you need to use them. You need to choose, in every moment, to relate to yourself differently. And there will be days when you forget. Days when the old critical voice will seem so real, so true, so impossible to question. On those days, remember, you're not trying to be perfect at this either. You're simply practicing a new way of being. Like learning to play an instrument, you're going to miss many notes before you create music. But every attempt matters. Every moment of compassion you offer yourself is a seed planted in fertile soil. And those seeds will grow. They'll grow into an entire forest of self-love, of self-acceptance, of deep and lasting peace. A forest where self-criticism may still appear occasionally, like a small bird passing by, but where it no longer has the power to define who you are. Because you are so much more than your critical thoughts. You are the vastness of the sky where all thoughts appear and disappear. You are the eternal awareness witnessing the entire dance of life. You are love, expressed in human form, learning to recognize itself. So breathe with me one last time. And repeat these affirmations, not as empty words, but as invitations to truths that already live in you. I am worthy of love and respect, starting with my own love and respect. I am the awareness observing my thoughts. I am not my critical thoughts. I speak to myself with love and kindness. My words to myself are seeds of healing and transformation. I celebrate every step of my journey. I honor the process as much as I value the results. My worth comes from within. I am the source of my own approval. I trust myself. Let these affirmations become the new voice within you, the voice that's louder than criticism, the voice that's truer than fear, the voice that's always been there, patiently waiting for you to come home, to yourself. You are loved. You are enough. You always were. And I'm here, celebrating your journey back to that truth. Welcome home, my dear. Welcome home. Welcome to the love you always deserved, starting with your own deep and unconditional love. It's safe to be you. It's beautiful to be you. It's perfect to be you, exactly as you are, in this moment. So it is, and so it is, until our next meeting.